welcome everybody. We are gonna have some discussions and we're gonna chat a lot around what we're working right now, JavaScript. So say hi, everybody. We are now with Natalia. Before we begin, I have to tell you why I met Natalia. And actually, this is the first time that we talk to each other, and I'm so happy. I met Natalia I think a few months ago because I was hoping to meet other women in tech that are interested in being a Google developer expert. And I received Natalia a recommendation. And actually, she became a Google developer expert last week. So congratulations to
Yes.
Natalia.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So exciting.
Yeah. And I'm really happy because at the end, I find out that Natalia is from Uruguay. I'm from Argentina. So it's like we are neighbors.
Yeah, it's super exciting. I don't think I ever thought I was going to become a Google developer expert ever. So this is super exciting for me. And yeah, also thank you for having me here. But thank you for being the one also that kind of gave me the little push to get there.
We need more women out there. So I'm pretty happy to meet you. Okay, so first of all, Natalia, if you want to introduce yourself, and then I'm gonna talk a little bit about our team. Before we start, this meetup is gonna be recorded, so you can always ask questions, talk in the chat, write your questions. But if you don't want to appear in the camera because you're VIP or something like that, you can just turn off the camera. Besides that, we have a code of conduct. So if there's anything else that you need in terms of code of conduct, I'm here. You can write me. Also, here with me is Daniel Appelquist. He is the director of our team, developer relations team. He's the one behind the camera, also doing some directions kind of today. So hi, Dan. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to figure out which button I'm pressing here. I've got all my buttons. Yes. Hi, everyone. And I just pasted a link to the code of conduct into the chat as well. And if you have any issues related to the code of conduct, just feel free to private message me or Laura, or so there you are.
Yeah, I think also we have from Samsung Internet Kevin. So Kevin is from Switzerland, and if you can see him, that is the only Kevin right now. So if you need anything, you can reach out to him also. So yeah, let's start to talk about Natalia. Who are you, Natalia?
Yeah, okay, so I'm Natalia. I am from Uruguay, like you mentioned before. I started actually as a designer, graphic designer, back in the time of printing and analog. And I don't want to say when, because you're going to figure out how old I am. No, the beginning of the 2000s, I started going more in the web design direction. When web design, I think, wasn't even something that you could study somewhere. And I ended up developing websites in ActionScript first, and then I moved on to JavaScript and PHP, and I started working on platforms that featured those languages. And finally, I started working professionally as a front-end developer. And right now, because it's been quite a while, I am doing mostly architecture work, consulting. I also develop at I don't know, 50% of my time. And yeah, this is mostly what I do right now. So yeah, here based in Barcelona.
Based in Barcelona, from Uruguay directly to Barcelona. That's great. So I think like you have a similar background that I used to have. I used to work with JavaScript from like also so long ago. I'm not gonna say when, but also at that time jQuery was like the thing to do. And I started as a backend developer doing PL SQL with Oracle databases. And then step by step, I've been doing some JavaScript work, and then jQuery, and then suddenly JavaScript into the front end, and then backend with JavaScript. And then we have these things that are called frameworks in the middle. And then it's like every time you're going to sleep, there's a new JavaScript framework and you don't know what to do. So let's open the discussion about how did you see JavaScript during these last years that you've been working on, right? And how do you relate that with the web technologies? And then we're going to open the discussion around frameworks.
Okay, so yeah, I think it's much more than just JavaScript. Like the front end ecosystem has kind of blown up, and I think we went from being the guys that just move pixels around. This is how everyone's used to see us back in the day of jQuery, and maybe manipulating the DOM, and then we started learning jQuery because we wanted to be more efficient and do it easier. And with JavaScript, it was, or ECMAScript 5, it was pretty difficult, or it was more complicated. So everybody was using JavaScript. And yes, like you say, one day I think people started realizing that maybe there were other options. And I really don't talk bad about jQuery because I used it a lot. And I still. And I still maintain some legacy code in jQuery, and I think it made our lives truly easier back in the day. So I kind of have some love for jQuery. It's not the tool I use right now. We don't have any dependencies on jQuery at the moment in the big platform I work at. But it's more about performance than anything else. I don't really have any bad feelings about jQuery, having used jQuery back in the day. But yeah, we have some offers right now. And my first experience with frameworks was with Angular. And this is why I became an Angular Google developer expert. It was in 2016. It was when it was a release candidate, the Angular IO, Angular 2. So I never had any experience with AngularJS, by the way. I never worked with AngularJS. I did some POCs and I worked around with it. I had some pet projects, but I never really worked professionally or had a professional project with AngularJS. And back in 2016 is when I started developing this. It was kind of like a how do you say, like a networking platform. Yeah. And we decided we needed a framework because there was a lot of reactivity. There was a lot of things going on, interactivity between the client and the user, and the interface. And this is when we adopted Angular. And yeah, I totally don't regret it. I think for enterprise, Angular is a very, very effective and optimal solution. But yeah, like you say, right now we have more stuff for already some years. We have also React, we have Vue, we have Svelte, we had back in the day also Ember and Backbone and some other frameworks that are no longer anymore on the spotlight, but are being used and maintained by some people. I think Ember has had a little bit of a resurfacing. But yeah, there are plenty of options and all with pros and cons, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. And in terms of, something that I realized when I started to work with frameworks and something like that, is that there's a kind of confusion around what is a framework and what's the difference between a framework and the library. Do you know how to explain that? Because everybody's like, yeah, use that library, and that's Angular, but wait, Angular is a framework, it's not a library. So to better have an optimal idea to the people that is listening right now, and before going about patterns or things that are technical, I think that it's important to have really good concepts around JavaScript. So
yeah, definitely.
What's the difference?
Yeah, well, I think you mentioned one of the difference. Like a library offers you an API, it offers you code, let's say, that you can reuse to make things easier for you. But a framework gives you patterns, it gives you an opinion, it gives you a style guide, a more organized way of doing things. With a library, you can implement those or that code that they give you in so many ways. But with a framework, you already have an opinion coming with on how to better do things. And I think that can be beneficial in certain cases, like we explained, like when you have distributed teams, for example. That is my case. I work with very, very large teams. Some are in Europe, some are in a different time zone in India, some are in South America. And yeah, it's much easier when you have a lot more definition than just a line.
Yeah, I agree. It's like it gives you guidelines and a way to work with your code, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's one of the things I really like about Angular. So I started to work with Angular before 2.0, and I really like it. But then I felt really frustrated when I was working with the project. And then I was like, oh, 2.0 is coming, so let's just start migrating this, and then things became completely different. I think for better, right? But in terms of trying to apply a solution for somebody that is going to build a new app or things like that, which are the challenges that you have working with maybe Angular or any other framework?
Well, the challenges, I think the frameworks are a challenge in our industry right now because I do also a lot of technical interviews, and the problem we had, I think, in the industry at the moment is that people start by learning a framework instead of learning JavaScript. And then you go back to asking very, very basic or fundamental questions about the language. And they are not sure how to answer that because they are used to implementing things with the frameworks. So that's the dangerous part of the frameworks. And then the other one is that, like we said, there are so many options that sometimes when you gather a team or put a team together, some of them have knowledge of Angular, some of React, some of Vue, and then the level is different, or the way of thinking, because frameworks or libraries sometimes also, they also kind of have an impact in the way of people think at the time of programming or designing their solutions. So yes, they kind of disconnect people in that sense in a team. But yeah, then the challenges that every framework poses are different depending on which one you choose, right? For example, I don't know, Angular may be a little bit more difficult to learn. The learning curve is a little bit more steep. But then for React, for example, which has also many great things, maybe the challenge is to have people following the same style, because that it's the nature of that library to let you do things in the way you want. And then you have Vue that is super easy to learn, but maybe some features are not, or were not a little bit ago so mature, so it didn't let you implement some more complex features. So yes, that's the way I see it a bit at the moment.
Yeah, I agree with you, and especially because I don't know, if you are starting to try to learn how to code and whatever, it's like please try to understand the concepts and everything. Because also, when I found out that there are still simple things to do that you can just do well in the web, just using JavaScript before going to any framework, before downloading so many dependencies and things like that, that people get used to, okay, let's use these because it's so popular right now and everybody's using that. This happen in any framework or any other tool. It's not like you're going to use it because it's on demand or everybody is talking about this. It all depends in which is your team, how your product is going to grow, or how do you implement your app, or things like that.
And the time constraints you may have. That's also very important, that you think about the time box you have to accomplish something, and then what kind of performance requirements you have, what kind of accessibility requirements you have. And then when you have that together, you can make the right choice of framework.
Yeah, I agree. I will do parentheses. If people want to make comments or have questions in the middle, you can leave it in the chat, and then when at the end, or maybe in the middle, it depends. We're going to open up for questions and to make this a little bit more interactive. So going back to like how many people do you have in your team, or like how is your daily work, right? It's like how is your company? Because I think you are in a position to make decisions about architecture in tech, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that probably most of us would like to do. And during our career as a developer, we learn a lot. But in terms of implementing and making decisions about architecture, that's another different thing that can be huge also. So
yeah, it's a huge responsibility also. And leading teams, it's a huge responsibility. How I work right now, well, I work for Netcentric. It's a consultancy company, and so we do or we build platforms or digital solutions for leading brands, for brands that probably all of you know, but I'm not allowed to say. and yeah, and yes, right now I work like at a top level platform. Like it's like a core library that lets you consume from it, or all the other projects or smaller projects for this account kind of consume from it code and services and so on. So it's a lot of fun because we get the requirements and we have to think not for a specific use case, but potentially for hundreds of them, right? We have hundreds of projects that really are going to be using the solutions that we design. And yeah, and some of them require that we use frameworks and some of them don't. And we always try to, like I said, think about, okay, what is the time constraint? What is the performance budget that we have, how we want to make this usable, how we want to make this good experience for the developers as well. And yeah, all this combined helps into creating the right solution. And then we also have lots of third-party services that we integrate at the same time, and sometimes overlay an API of our own so we can deliver to our smaller projects. So my clients are those projects that get to use our solutions.
Great, and you have distributed teams all around the world, right?
Yeah. We have teams. Mostly right now, the teams I work with are in Germany, in Spain, and yeah, I think at the moment, yeah, we have a smaller team in India as well, but mostly in Germany.
And do you have offices, or is it remote most of the time?
Well, Netcentric has offices. It has offices in London. It has offices yeah, in Spain, in Vigo, in Barcelona, and then in Germany there are about 5 locations, and also in Pune in India.
Okay, great. Just to know, like, if you move already from working on site and then currently you are working remote and managing teams and everything, it's also a huge challenge.
Yeah, it is a huge challenge. It is challenging because then everyone is also not only influenced by their technical preferences, but also by their cultural environment, by, I don't know, things of the day by day, and all of that create. But we have a great culture. We have a culture of very open communication. We have a flat hierarchy. We have roles and not really ranks, and that helps a lot into doing our work.
Yeah, and there's a question here from Santosh. Thanks, Santosh. She has a diverse team. It's talking about you, Natalia. And my question is how you manage the coding style across the team. I assume that you have certain rules or, you know, follow up or code review. Like, how does it work? Besides working with Angular, that it already give you patterns, but let's go into the details. Everybody has their own thing or type of coding or things like that. So how do you manage that?
Well, it goes back to the fact that in Netcentric, we have a holacratic organization. So we have like circles that have domains and take care of things. And one of them is the standards and enablement circle. And we have people that are in charge of documentation. And by the way, I am the lead link for the whole front-end development circle in my company, which means that I am in charge of making sure that all front-end developers in the company, those in my project and not in my project, work with the same standards in mind. So we really document everything we do. And then on a project basis, we obviously have code reviews, we have quality gates, we do a lot of commenting during the pull requests, and we try to align and make sure that everything complies with our standards. And those standards are also industry standards. Like, we want to make sure that it's easier for everyone to understand why we do things. And what motivates us is to deliver quality products and performant products. So that's our motto.
Yeah, that's cool. Actually, documentation is important, guys. Like,
yeah, it's very important.
Please, documentation. I know that even like for me, it's kind of hard to document and do a little bit more. And we are a small team, but anyway, we are trying to do a follow up, and basically, also we work a lot with W3C standards. Actually, last week we have also office hours with Dom from W3C. So it's like even though we can have people with different coding styles around whatever, there are a few standards that the industry already has, right? And then I think you can try to find out within the roles the best way and best practices to deliver to your team, right?
Exactly. I think everyone is aligned on that mostly. And that's one of the weighting factors when you choose a framework as well. How well documented it is. What's the community that supports this framework? And that really matters.
I agree. One of the things that I always say before choosing one technology, check how is the community behind, how is the questions around Stack Overflow, or how is which people is using that product, right? Because we all have challenges and issues and things to solve. And if there's something that is already solved, it's easier. You're delivering in less time or whatever. But if something is pretty new, it's like, okay, even the community doesn't know, and you have to update everything. It can be like time consuming, and yeah, that's other challenge that you have to take a look, actually, especially because we were talking before that we see a lot of frameworks and libraries are super useful, but also what's going on behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
It's like is there a community that can support your team if you have any challenges or questions, or who is using that product or things like that. So
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and I have Matias. Where are you from, Matias? Probably Matias is a name from Argentina or what, I hope. Yeah, I'm looking for people from South America, and hopefully we can do the same edition in Spanish. I already have my mate, so I'm gonna like show you later how does it work. So Matias is saying that I think one thing that moves people to get it framework first is employability. Learning what can get me a job. Yes, I agree with you, Matthias. I'm gonna make a parenthesis. In this case, I also had the chance to see a lot of training courses and something like that, that there's this promise that you're gonna get a job, and people, instead of thinking and things like they really like or learn a new skill, they are thinking in terms of, okay, we'll get a job because being a software developer is so popular and whatever. So yeah, I agree. But that's other discussion around what's going on with software development and jobs. And he said, however, not getting the fundamentals of language algorithms, data structures, and architecture right is often costly. Yeah, I agree. And actually, it happened to me when I started to make some interviews outside my country, but for me, that I had tests about algorithms and whatever, and I was like freaking out because the last time that I saw algorithms or things like that was in college, and and the way that interviews are going at that moment, it was really different to my country. So, and then I forced myself to go back and study algorithms and data structure. So the logic and everything that is around, I think, is really important.
But he says something very important about balancing diversity and backgrounds, and that's super important because we are always good at different things, and this is what you, as a lead of a team, need to recognize in your team, who is better at what and who likes or feels more passionate about what, and try to put people together that are into different things and do this knowledge transfer that he's talking about. This is super important. We don't want everybody to be the same. We want to embrace that diversity of interests, and there are people that are more logical, more into this analytical thinking and programmatically better than others, and there are others that are more sensible to, design. And when you put people together to work, it usually results in great things.
Yes, and actually it also open up a question around the different profiles that you can have in a team, that being a software developer also can mean that you are a creative person, that you're working with design, that you're working with a backend, that you're working. The good thing about this is like you can check what is your skill, the things that you enjoy a little bit more, and then you can just go with that path, right?
Exactly.
How was it in your case, Natalia? How did you find out, like, okay, let's go, let's be a lead architect? Like, how was that?
It's really weird because being that I was a designer, I probably should be more interested in the UI part, but it came to a point when I started really liking more the part of connecting to other systems and protocols. I remember I did a talk in 2017 about HTTP and how it worked, and I started getting really interested in performance and how can I put these building blocks of things together so we have websites that are super fast, and how can we better handle APIs, and one thing led to another, and I became taking this role of architect, and that's how it happened.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was like a organic thing. I didn't really think about it. It just went in that direction.
Yeah, it was a mix of curiosity and okay, I like this part. Why not go further and do other things?
Really. Yeah, and that also I think I really struggled with webpack at some point, like I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. So I started like really getting into it because I wanted to, I wanted to be good at it. Why this thing is really giving me such a hard time? And now the first thing I do when we have a new project is I am the one doing all this setup together with 2 colleagues. We are the ones leading this setup standards in our company, and it's a lot of fun. I really have a great time. It's hard, but I like it.
yeah, it's a challenge, but at the end it's worth it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so and also we have Bruno is asking, do you make a review across teams? Like if people in team A have great skills in Angular and team B does not match, team B leverage the skills of team A through code review? How do you share knowledge? Good question. Dynamic between teams.
Yeah, well, I don't know if we say like, yeah, we're going to put all the Angular good or the people that are good at Angular together, and then they have the chance to be the ones reviewing other people that are not. But when we have a new project coming up and we decide who's going to lead it, we try to think of people that are really good at that, and then balance it out with more junior people that can learn from the ones leading the project. And this is how we do it. And yeah, we follow a Git flow. We do pull requests with code reviews, and this is how we try for people to learn more. But we are also a culture of knowledge sharing. We do a lot of events, internal events, where people share their knowledge about new things that they learned, about new technologies they have been playing with in their projects or outside the projects. And this is how we try to keep everyone in the loop of knowledge.
Yeah, and as an individual, one of the things that Natalia is doing a lot is sharing her knowledge besides a team, right? She's been doing a bunch of presentations talking about Angular, and she will also make other events soon. Maybe not in person, but sooner or later.
Not for now.
Not from now, right? But anyway, my suggestion is if you have anything in your team that you would like to share or teach or something like that, at the end is super valuable because it generates a really good dynamic. And even though it's not only in your team, if you want to share that with somebody else that wants to learn how to code or something like that, do it. Share your knowledge.
Put your knowledge out there because it's important.
Yeah.
There's probably going to be somebody who leverages it.
Yeah. Okay, and then we have Dan. Dan, the director, is doing a question about MDN. The MDN is a Mozilla Dev Network. So we're doing some documentation around that, and he says, we do some work in MDN as we are part of the MDN product advisory board. If you have any feedback on MDN and what MDN could be doing better for the JavaScript and or framework developer communities.
Well, I think it's doing already an amazing job, and I can tell you that at least in Netcentric, it's our first place to go when we want to learn the standards. We go to MDN. Before, people used to go to Stack Overflow, and then they used to go to Can I Use, and like being all over the place, and MDN is putting everything together. You have the rationale, you have the explanation, you have the examples, and then you have the support for the features. So my feedback is like, thank you very much for the work you do for everyone. So yes, keep it up. Like, it's a very, very important tool.
Yeah, so if you, Dan already put the link, but for people that is maybe is interested in documentation and things to learn around JavaScript and a lot of stuff around the web. Currently, actually, we are doing some updates into the progressive web app documentation.
Cool.
So probably we're gonna make more announcements soon, so everybody can check in that link there.
One more comment on that, Laura. People might not be aware that the can I use info is now synced up with the MDN compat data, which is all being managed through GitHub. Big lodge of data that's all being managed through GitHub PRs. So it's since I became involved in the project, and since the MDN spun up the product advisory board, there's been a lot of advances in that area too. So it's great to hear the feedback. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Dan is excited. The director approves.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. For the rest of the year, Natalia, I think like we are living in like special times around what's happening and everything. So to start doing a recap, how do you find web technologies during these times, and which kind of stuff or trends would you like to see in terms of tech after that?
Okay, I want people, to read more the MDN network when they implement their stuff. I think that we are getting much better right now, but there was a time when communities were like running away from each other, like they were always in a constant struggle against each other, and that's kind of dissolving. I hope there's still some battle of frameworks somewhere in the internet, but we shouldn't be part of that. Like we said, every framework has good, has bad, has pros and cons. The important thing is that we all work for the internet, like to make it a better place, to make it more usable. Like when you are developing, don't forget the users. They're the ones that are going to really enjoy whatever you do. So don't forget that there are people in places where broadband is not so accessible. Don't forget accessibility. Don't forget that there are people that use the internet in a different way than you do, but don't forget you're aging also, and you are going to use the internet in a different way as well. So what I want to see, I think we're always going to have new frameworks coming up, because that's the nature of developers as well. We are creative, we are curious, and we also want to put out there whatever we do. But what I would like to see is that we work towards the same goal. And the same goal should be to deliver more performant internet to everyone. So learn what's out there, like static generators and SSR and all these things that make the internet much faster and better. And that's my advice.
Yeah, create a good experience for the user.
Yeah, exactly.
Love it. Amazing. So before we finish, I will give a few minutes so people can still leave in their questions and everything. And what I have with me, because I promised people were curious about that, I have Mate.
You do? Okay.
Yeah, I do. So if you never see these weird beverage before, in the meantime, please think about your questions. And Natalia is here. She's a Google developer expert from Uruguay, moved to Barcelona. Also, she's also a leader, a speaker, and an architect, a bunch of stuff. Natalia.
Oh, yeah.
So leave your questions. And in the meantime, so I have mate. This is a mate I have, right? So what is this?
Yeah, I'm a horrible Uruguayan. I don't have a mate.
You don't?
No.
Well, so just to give you an idea from people that is checking from different parts of the world, in Uruguay, people drink a lot of this. And Argentina too, but I think in Uruguay, you can see people in the street, like with their
Everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere, and with this.
At work.
So, yeah, work, right? And people is like, because this is, there's something green inside that looks like leaves or something like that. It's like a tea, but with this. And more than once, it happened to me. It's like, what is it? Is that drugs or something? No, it's just like a tea. It's just like a tea that we drink it with a hot water, and then we share it with everybody. So as a good tradition, we usually share these with our friends while we are doing a conversation. So yeah, I'm pretty happy to have my virtual mate with everybody that is here all around, and hopefully someday I can invite one to the people that never had one before, and then I can see your faces like, oh, what is this? Oh.
Yeah, it's a little bit bitter. Yeah, but some people drink it with sugar, and it's like a tea. Yeah, it's an infusion.
It's like a tea. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty, we have one other question by Bruno. Bruno, it's saying, how do you manage, prioritize, schedule all the things you're interested and want to learn? Ooh, that's a good question.
Oh, I get overwhelmed as everyone else.
Yeah.
But I try to, yes, I try to, like you say, to prioritize what is really important to me right now to do my work. What kind of requirements do I have now? And this would make much easier for me if I knew how to do well. And this is what I learned. And yeah, I think I am right now I am super interested in performance, in setup, and this is what I try to delve more into. But yeah, I read articles, I keep feeds, and I discuss a lot with my colleagues. I talk a lot about this at work, over coffee with my peers, and we talk a lot about what we do, what we're learning, because sometimes it's easier if you, instead of reading it, somebody tells you about it. So you learn different
Find
things.
your mentors.
Yeah, exactly. Find your mentors, or find people that are interested in things that are relevant to front-end, but not exactly what you are more into, and let them tell you about it. And then you have this idea, and then if you really need it, that's the important thing. Don't try to learn everything by heart. I don't know everything by heart. I Google like everyone else. But the important thing is that you know that it exists. And if you need it, you learn how to implement it. And that's a trick.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't fit. All in your head doesn't fit.
No, it's not like everybody knows everything. And
yeah.
Especially in our industry, it's like we have new staff all around the whole time. So
yeah,
it's like you should have some kind of direction. Are you learning something new right now?
Yeah, I'm learning a lot about things that are not very, very, or only front end. I'm learning a lot more about caching strategies and microservices and streams of data. Like I'm reading a lot about Kafka streams and how to implement them to have better front ends.
Great. Yeah, great. Yeah, and then we have one question by Derek. He says, I'm currently enrolled in a coding bootcamp. So as a newbie, what is some advice to stay in the industry long term? And Matthias is like, please, Derek's question.
Yeah, who's there? Derek question? Derek question. Derek is asking this. Okay, I thought that Derek should answer this. Okay. Well, coding boot camps are just scratching the surface of everything we need to learn to do this job, right? But do it progressively. Don't try to know everything at once. Like we said, it's not possible. Just try to progressively acquire more knowledge, and you need to do. The only way to really know how to implement something and connect the dots of what you're learning is to do stuff, like have a pet project, like we say, have a little project in GitHub. Let others comment on that, and it's very important. Be open to criticism, to reviews from others, to feedback. It's very important. You learn a lot like that.
Yeah, and I have Tibor is saying even to know about things existing in the field of IT is difficult. Yeah, there are just so many technologies and solutions are out there, and it's always changing as well. One thing that I don't know, what do you think, Natalia, that I can suggest is just try to pick one topic and focus into long term, because you're gonna have like a bunch of new stuff around the whole time. And before it was backend for me, and then I jumped to jQuery, JavaScript, and now I'm doing something different. But if you focus into one thing at a time and just try to go around that and create stuff around, I think the path can be easier.
Yeah, exactly, and focus in JavaScript first and foremost, and HTML and CSS, and know that those are the ingredients that you need to know by heart, and then everything else will be much easier to understand. Much easier.
Yeah, great. Build tons of proof of concept as you learn, not learning alone. I find cross-pollination invaluable. Yeah, I think there's, I don't know, what do you think, Natalia? It should be like a mix. It doesn't matter if you're learning in a boot camp or on your own in front of the computer. At the end, you need feedback, work with the team, or things like that. I think so. Because sometimes when we are working in our own, it's fine. But at the end, we need to implement those solutions or things like that. So even if you're learning on your own, try to share what you're learning. Or
exactly. Go and look for feedback. It's always very important.
Okay, and then it's saying possible controversial opinion in a session focusing on frameworks. So we have some discussion around. And do some learning of the basic fundamental technologies, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, to understand better what is going on under the cover within the frameworks. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. Can't agree more.
Yeah. Again, frameworks are gonna come and go, but your knowledge about JavaScript is gonna be there, and also HTML and CSS, right? Try to check what's going on in the front end, which are the best practices. I'm still having a hard time with CSS. I'm learning from my colleagues. I think Ada is around that she knows a lot about that. So just
don't underestimate CSS, by the way.
Please, it's also hard, and
it's very hard.
I found it super hard, and there's also a lot of standards and nice documentation that you can check. So try to cover the basics and put your hands on. Yeah, I think like okay, there's a lot of discussions around. Yeah. Is any other question to Natalia or something else that Natalia wants to mention?
Let's see if anybody else has any questions. I'm happy to answer. And if not, yeah.
I think they are trying to Google what is a mate or something like that.
Well, I also want to say that people drink mate to like in replacement of coffee, like not in replacement, but it's stimulant. So
yeah. Don't drink before going to bed because you're gonna be like,
exactly. Don't drink it before going to bed.
why am I like, I went to code the whole night? No.
Yeah,
okay,
thank you, Santosh and Matias and everyone.
Yeah, we have Diego.
Because
yeah, Diego is part of our team, so yeah, big fan of Diego also. All right, I think like we are already had the whole hour. So
nice.
Thanks a lot, Natalia, for coming and sharing your knowledge and have a virtual mate with me.
By the way, Lalit, he works with me.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Nice to meet you, Lalit. Okay, so hopefully we can have more of these kind of sessions. Also, the idea, if you have any feedback or would like to interact in a different way besides doing questions or do whatever, please feel free to reach out. I'm gonna share our channels now. Let me see. So you can contact us. Well, it's Samsung Internet, easy. We're doing the blog posts. We also just created this meetup page, so you can follow up events. And please send us feedback or what do you want to know about our browser or things related to the web. Also, if you're working in something in particular with the web, please let us know. Everybody's welcome into these office hours. This is just a way to keep social interaction and learn a little bit more about what's happening with the community. And yes, I think that's it. I don't know, Dan, if you have any other comments.
Nothing from me. Thanks very much, Natalia, for joining us today.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And
yes,
have fun.
Thanks a lot, Natalia. Hopefully I can see you soon.
Yeah, we talk soon. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.